Hey everybody, it is Elsid932 on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining me. Oh, we are here for another week. We are here for week 3. I feel like we're at week 6 already. I don't know why. So many weddings, so many couples, but we are here for Married at First Sight Australia. Before I bring on my guests and before we go further, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. We're pumping out great content, and your appreciation is greatly needed so other people can be here and enjoy it with us. So, again, please look scrolling at the bottom. This is for entertainment purposes only. This is an edited, produced show, so our opinions are based on what we see and what we're allowed to see on social media. So I'd like you all to just come in, sit back, enjoy it with us, and put something in the chat. It'll get highlighted and let us know your feedback. If you're looking to watch the show, there are many YouTube channels that are showing it, or you can certainly log into Now 9 in Australia, and that's the channel that it premieres on every night Australia time. So my first guest I'm going to add to the stage is Life is Reality. How you doing?
I'm all good, thank you. How are you?
Doing great. I had to watch the commitment ceremonies real quick before we got here and make my notes.
Okay. Hope everyone's well out there. Yeah, it's been a good week on this show.
Oh, yes, it has been a challenging week for all of our couples, and we have some great previews for next week. Next week is going to be a wilder ride than this week. And for those of you who do not watch Married at First Sight Australia but are here to support, it is similar to the US but different. People do marry, they learn who they're marrying at the altar. They do say I do. They go on a little honeymoon. They come back, but every week they have a dinner party together, which the experts observe them. Every week they decide whether they're going to stay or leave. And every season there is a cheating scandal. A cheating scandal, which we're in the beginning stages of it. So if you wish to just join up now, I know it's 13 episodes. If you wish to join up now to watch, this is the perfect time to start watching because the cheating scandal is in its infancy stage. And I heard word on the street, this season is going to be more than one cheating scandal. So buckle up. My other guest is here. Kojo, how you doing?
Oh, I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
we
we,
can
we
hear
hear
you.
you, bro.
Fantastic. Yes, I'm here. I'm alive, and I'm ready to talk about the show. It's been crazy. I managed to catch the last episode. So yeah, I'm ready to dissect.
Okay, are we on your channel as well? Just want to make sure before we start.
We're about to be in there in about a minute or so. So yeah, you're about to be.
Okay, so again, you guys, if you wish to watch the show, it's on YouTube. Catch up anytime. But Married at First Sight Australia and UK are different than the US. They're not just left to carry on in their marriage. Every week they're given a new task to do, a new task to bring them closer together or tear them apart. And we've already had couples torn apart even before the challenges. This week was Intimacy Week. Alejandra, which is the expert, this week she challenged the ladies to show the men what is their ultimate fantasy date. And the men were supposed to go along for the ride. So we will talk about the Intimacy Week with each couple, and then we will go straight into the confessions for each couple. And we're going to kind of do it based on the confessions week for a little bit. And for the confessions week, who did we start with? I think we started with Tony and Morena. See them on our screen. So to give you a little clue for Intimacy Week, Morena was in lingerie on the couch and she wanted Tony to paint her as he sees her. And it went from wonderful to carnage by the end of the week. Life is reality. Let me let me know what you thought about Tony and Morena this week.
Well, it's typical for them. I think his confessional on the couch was him really saying what he's been feeling since they got married, which is he feels like he's lost his voice. She seems very overpowering, even with the rest of the group. And you can see why he clammers up, goes into his shell, and isn't, even takes off every weekend just to get away from the heat that he's getting. Now, Morena shows absolutely no self-reflection, zero, no accountability. She doesn't think she's done anything wrong. And it's all Tony's fault why the relationship isn't working. When in actual fact, I'm sure even if she watches this back, if there's an ounce of humility, she will see that it's actually her causing a lot of the problems in communication. And with that, it's making the relationship suffer because this is the talking stage. This is where you're getting to know each other. So this is the first hurdle to overcome. And they're already hitting this repetitive cycle where she seems to be just go off. She'll absolutely go off. And it's very pointed. It's very targeted. It's very personal. And that puts him on defense. And he doesn't want to clash. He doesn't want to argue. So he lets her, he lets her speak, say what's on her mind. And then he clammers up and then he'll just decide, I've had enough, and he'll pack up his stuff and leave. Now, he does take accountability for doing it. And she says that it's a trigger for her when he does it. So out of both of them, he seems to be the one that's a bit more malleable and wants to try and make the relationship work. She wrote leave this week. And that's because she says, actions speak louder than words. If he sits down and spends a whole week with her, I'm still very sure that the clashes and the arguments will continue to happen. So she does need to adjust the way she communicates. She needs to adjust the way she sees things, sees herself, because it's coming across as, you're not willing to take advice from the experts. You don't like to listen to feedback from the rest of the group. And most importantly, you don't like listening to Tony. So Morena needs some serious work. I'm surprised Tony said stay, giving them another week, but I don't see it improving between them.
As Tony said, he needed Tony time to get away from Morena, to get away from everything. That's why he goes away. And we saw with the way that Morena talked to Paul at the dinner party, calling him a little boy and all of that. It's very seems easy. I don't know if it's because Paul is young and she's old enough to be his mom, but she seems very quick to give derogatory feedback and derogatory words to people. Koja, what are your thoughts on Morena and Tony this week?
Yeah, I mean, listen, when the painting situation happened, it was actually a really good date and a really good suggestion by Morena. I mean, it opened up Tony to see her in a different light. I think it opened him up to have more intimacy with her. And it was naughty, but it was also at the same time, emotionally connecting, and it bridged a gap that they hadn't bridged in their relationship already, and in their marriage, which was really, really good. Suffice to say, it didn't last long. I think she did not allow him to be able to bask in that space for very long. She's actually a Debbie Downer a little bit. She's always expecting, almost like she's almost expecting the worst, and she feels like she has to always fight her corner, which is I really believe is part of her trauma of coming back from a very abusive relationship. But it was it was actually a really, really good day, a really good thing. They were having fun, they were laughing, they were joking. This was really, really a beautiful moment, and I think it's a lesson to a lot of people actually, how you can ruin a good thing with really bad vibes, right? And so I actually really enjoyed the date, and then yeah, he wanted to be able to kind of like open up a little bit more, and she kind of shut it down. After, I think it was the next day, it wasn't necessarily the same day, but no, the next day, when he was excited, he was enthusiastic, he was ready to share more and to actually probably open more, and actually this would have been a probably, an escalator, not, upwards, in terms of him being feeling safe enough to be able to share. He went to the intimacy party with the boys, shared how much he really appreciated his wife and how much they had opened up in that moment. He came back like giddy like a little boy. And when he came back, all he wanted to do was open his mouth and share what he had been through. And immediately as he did, she actually did some things which I think are a little bit concerning. Not in like an abusive way, but just concerning in terms of, I think she actually has a bigger problem with intimacy than she realizes. A really big problem. Because I can't come into the room, sit down start talking to you, I want to have a conversation, and your head's in your book. She didn't even put the book down. She literally didn't put the book down. She kept her head in the book, and then she started talking about what she had read in the book and did not hear a word he said. I was so confused. I was, wait, hold on a minute. Is she doing this on purpose? I said, well, this actually is actually probably residue of being in an abusive relationship. It's probably the residue of having to survive an abusive relationship. And you are carrying that forward into this relationship. Because there ain't no way that you can't be that aware that a person came in, was excited. You can feel the excitement. And they're like, hey, I want to talk to you. And you can't hear it. And you're willing just to kind of blurt out what you had read. I said, "Oh, that's a real bad lack of self awareness. She is bad as Ryan is when it comes to self awareness. You know what I mean?" So yeah, it was very disappointing to kind of see that from Morena, and of course, it doesn't change. Obviously, later on we'll talk about that in a second or two. But yeah, just I think she, even at the dinner table, she had so much anger, and I think, again, residue of a past abusive relationship. She may think that she has done the work. Maybe she has. But unfortunately, maybe being put back into a situation where they start being vulnerable, the anger and the pain and the frustrations of the past relationship are seething and boiling to the top. The way she dealt with Paul, the way she dealt with the table, and then the audacity later on to play victim about how many people was attacking her when she was willing to attack Ryan with literally venom. And I don't say that lightly. She actually was actually being quite venomous to Ryan and to Paul. It seems almost personal, but I know that it's residue from a past relationship. Yeah.
Right. Marina wants to get her voice heard, and she seems to, you will hear me, but I don't need to hear you kind of behavior. The men already chastised Ryan at the dinner. Ryan was duly chastised publicly by the men. But when she's asked about her behavior of yelling in the hallway, she thinks Paul is downgrading her and degrading her verbally by saying something he observed, saying she's saying he's delusional. And I was like, apart from calling him a little boy, which is really, really disrespectful, he is grown. The second part is calling, saying he's delusional. When we saw on camera that she left the apartment yelling about Tony. What I do like with Married at First Sight Australia is that the experts weekly, as the expert John says, they hold up a mirror and they asked Marina and Tony, what have you contributed to the downfall of the relationship? Tony said 50-50. He acknowledged what he has done. Marina says 80% is Tony's fault, but she cannot articulate her 20%, which is concerning. But they did put up a mirror and asked her, how do you look? Because when she said Tony becomes Houdini on the weekends, meaning he disappears, the room chuckled and she was blazing fire at everybody. And they were like, it was just a joke. We laughed. And in that, she burnt her one ally, Ree, who said, I am offended now because I have been supportive of you and listening to you. So Marina is also destroying the positive relationships she has in this experiment. Is there anything else you guys wanted to talk about, Tony and Marina?
Yeah, I just wanted to say the fact, like, when Tony came home and all excited and everything, the mood was like she was on 10 already, just seething, waiting for him to come home. So his joy quickly left his spirit. You can physically see where he went from that high to a very low point. Because he's thinking, what have I done now? What have I done to offend her? She's going to go off on me. And I noticed that when she is around the group, she is definitely so stern that the rest of the group kind of stand to attention when she speaks. And she is very, she's not defensive, she's very offensive. And then she's got a thick, it's like she's got a thick exterior, but she's so soft and cannot handle feedback. So an interesting point was when the experts asked her, "What is there anything positive that you received feedback from at the table?" Right? Because as you said, she's got an ally who was defending her and speaks highly of her and listens to her and gives constructive feedback to her. But she even said no. Nothing was positive about that whole discussion. So everybody's looking confused because they're like, wait a minute, you're the one that keeps going off on everyone. You're the one that's actually obliterating everybody. If it isn't through verbal, then the looks she gives people as if she's ready to go off. So it creates a nervousness around the other couples when she's present. And, like I said, it's very difficult for me to understand why she cannot see that. She's blind to her own misgivings. And, at the end of the day, she's the oldest one on the cast. She's 4 years older than Tony. So, she's, in a way, she scolds everyone for being younger. You're not able to give me feedback because you're just a little boy, type energy. And unfortunately, that's going to alienate her from the rest of the group. At the end of the day, the group still have to be around each other and interact and all these other different things at the dinner parties, etc. And Tony, that's her husband. He doesn't want to have to be putting out fires all the time. So her getting mad that he didn't defend her against the group, she was the one attacking everyone. That's why he didn't defend her. Yeah, she couldn't even comprehend that. It wasn't as if everyone ganged up on her. It was the fact that she started turning on some of the other people. And then when they challenged her back, she expected Tony to jump in and say, listen, this is my wife. Don't talk to her like that. This, that, the other. But he cannot do that. You cannot take away the guy you're with's voice and then expect him to suddenly find it when that type of situation arises. It's unfair to Tony because you don't like his voice any other time when you're around him, and he can't even openly express his joy or excitement at being with you. You're
Very
shutting
well
it all
said.
down.
Very well said, in that she shuts his voice down, but then when she's in a group attacking folks, she wants him to use his voice. He doesn't use it otherwise. Kojo, any last thoughts for this couple?
Yeah. So I think obviously talking about the expert situation, it was really interesting because again, Marina didn't actually see what she had done wrong, and when they asked her for her percentages, she was looking at 70-80. Now, Marina is somebody who is been has been a professional victim for a very long time, and rightly so. She has been a victim of abusive relationship, according to her. So she has been a victim for so long, she doesn't know how not to be a victim. So she must be the one that's an injured party. She must be the one that's been done dirty to a degree where now the victimhood is part of her identity. And so she can't see where she does anything wrong because that would mean admitting that she is the bad party, right? And so that's the messed up part that happens to a lot of people who are in traumatic relationships where they're very much abused. They develop an identity of victimhood because that was the way of surviving, right? But the problem is now you're no longer in that space. Now she's actually becoming she's actually becoming the bully. I'm not saying she's necessarily a bully per se, but she's becoming the bully, and she doesn't realize that, right? That she's doing that, and even hearing, even hearing the other person's perspective. What I wished was the experts were as disgusted as they were when they were disgusted as hearing about Ryan's behavior. Because if they don't, this is going to continue. And I'm not saying that they're on the same level. What I'm saying to you is that energy, like, let's not play it off like it's normal. It's not normal. She's actually trying to she's actually reacting off what she has been through, so she's going to keep on doing it until you actually really call out the behavior, like, hey, can you see that you are now becoming the bully? You're losing friends and you're losing the loved one. She keeps talking about what she deserves. Yes, we know he disappeared. Okay, he shouldn't be disappearing, right? But the way you're not just showing this behavior on a dinner table, you're showing it now, you're showing it at the home. You're actually very consistent in what behaviors you're exhibiting. So let's stop giving her a pass and actually start properly actually trying to educate this woman to say, hey, look, you've got to listen, right? It doesn't matter how old you are, you've got to listen. You're going to cause yourself injury. You're not just losing a man. Forget that. That's what usually people lose on the show. You're about to lose friends. And that's a big thing. You know what I mean? So hopefully she takes that advice on board and really just starts to have a self-reflective moment. I don't know. I don't have faith as of yet because of what I've seen, but it can always turn around.
Yeah, I don't have faith either based on what I've seen, but she is doing interviews and she is not taking any responsibility. So that's why I'm kind of in still a pessimistic mode. But I'm hoping it's just because it's a recall of what has happened. But yes, word on the street, if you are going further into their story, is that Tony is still married to his most recent wife, and he told her on the honeymoon, and this is why she's being defensive. But that doesn't mean she should take it out on Paul and the rest of the group. So while Tony may be iffy and sketchy, she is showing this to the group and everyone around her, including the ladies trying to befriend her. So let's go on to our less problematic couples. Jamie and Dave, they seem to have had a wonderful week. Jamie did go with Karina to buy lingerie to showcase for their husbands. And she says she feels safe and secure with Dave. Dave feels amazing. They both feel heard and seen. Is there anything you would like to say about this couple, Life is Reality?
One of the few couples that connected straight away. Um, haven't had any blow-ups that we've seen, any major ones. He's been very expressive and vulnerable, so has she. They both appreciate each other. Um, this is one of the connections that seems to be a great match, as far as the experts have put together. So yeah, I mean, their relationship, I don't see any real issues or anything. And they're also in a position which is very rare, which is where they're able to have a good relationship, good connection, still be there for the other couples that may be going through something, supporting them and all of that. And they're also able to call out other behaviors. And it doesn't rock the boat for their relationship either. So all round, a very good couple. Not much to report there.
Kojo, for a lady that has a laundry list of red flags, Jamie seems to have fallen well into her groove with Dave. What are your thoughts on this couple?
That list doesn't exist. No. I mean, she found the right kind of guy, right? Who is, I guess, aesthetically pleasing for her. He matches what she wants for the description. A lot of times, these lists are. I told you, rules are made for people that you don't like, because when you like them, you've been making exceptions. But I mean, I like them because they're actually a really good couple. They're actually very well matched, and they support each other. They do the basics. Like, they just do the basics. That's literally it. If they do the basics, and they show us almost like it's not hard, but it is hard. Doing the basics is not easy. So, shout out to them. I do like them. My only thing is, but I know it's an experiment and it's a show. I want them to shut up. I want them both to shut up. I want them both to shut it. Stop getting involved in everybody else's business. Shut your mouth and focus on your marriage. Because eventually this is going to come back and bite you in the ass. Stop being too known. You understand what I'm saying to you, right? Jackie did it with Katie. Now we're having it with Dave. Now trying to do I'll stand up for everybody in for Ryan's situation. I need them to shut it. I need them to shut it. I need them to shut it. If they're gonna do this, I need them to start calling those people out in personal conversations, one to one. Do it that way. This whole Avengers movement, it blows. It eventually blows back on you, and it's just like I need them to keep quiet. Happily married couples do not be engaging in everybody else's marriage in a public sphere. They do it privately. They pull you aside and they say, "Hey, what we're seeing ain't good." Right now, what they're doing is some Avengers stuff, and I need them to stop. Focus on your marriage. Keep doing what you guys are doing because you're winning, and I need you to stay there. It is not your duty to save everybody. Okay, like Dave this week. I get it. You didn't like what Ryan said. Pull his ass aside with the boys and have this conversation. I don't know what was wrong with the boys. The boys suddenly became Avengers. You want to call him out on the public table? Well, you had a chance to call him out when you were with the boys. It seems a little bit performative. It seemed a little bit like we're showing off for the ladies. It just felt a little bit off because Ryan was right there and you could have called him out. You didn't. You waited till you got to the dinner table for you want to call him out? Come on, man. I was like, yo, like, call out. You want to call out Ryan? Because it actually was then embarrassing for her as well. And they didn't even think about that. They just said, we're just going to call him out because they're so wrong. I get it. It was wrong. It was actually wrong. That's why you should have called him out when he was with the boys. You should have pulled him aside and said, hey, Ryan, we don't like what you're saying. This is disrespectful to your wife. And they actually kept on, and then that whole situation with Ryan and Jackie just became an embroiled situation, all because Dave this time that's a catalyst, started it, and then other people jumped in. So all I'm saying is, look, I'm not saying we can't talk about other people. I'm saying to you, like, people who are about healing people, they shut their mouths and they do it in quiet. They're not here breaking tables loud. I need Jamie and David. It's okay. You've done your first week. It's okay. Shut it. Keep quiet. Pull these people aside to one. Have conversations. Show me that you're willing to heal here and not just call out people because they're people on some bullcrap.
Well, the next couple does exactly that. Paul and Karina. They are making great strides. They had dated months ago for a while. It wasn't the right time. But in this experiment, they too are a darling couple doing the work, doing the basics, and they are not getting into everybody's business as much as our previous couple, Jamie and Dave. So this week, Karina took charge in Intimacy Week. Usually we hear that it's Paul that takes charge. And this time Karina took charge, and Paul was very appreciative of all that the expert told Karina that she can do, and he was willing to give of himself in this experiment. He was quite happy. They both decided to stay. He adores her. She is in awe of him, and they seem to also be a really good couple. So let me reverse order. Kojo, what are your thoughts on Karina and Paul?
Yeah, see, Quinn and Paul, I like them, they've got great chemistry, great vibes. They seem to be good souls as well. Just like Jamie and Dave, they're really doing the basics well because they've matched very well. Obviously, we know they had a history. Shout out to Paul again. I always say I commend him because of the way he handled that first day. It really showed his heart and showed his accountability in dealing with the situation. And so we've seen a great shift with Paul and Karina. You can see that they're just a light and the energy without them. You know what I'm saying to you? Just like Jamie and Dave. And you're right. We know that obviously Paul does speak to Elise because I know he was speaking to Ryan at the time, and as well. So we saw how he defended Ryan towards Morena. He did call out Morena a little bit, and he got an arrow back, as well. So, but yeah, no, I like them. Like I said, they're not as like I said. If they are talking to people behind the scenes, I don't know because again, they're not telling us anything crazy. But we don't. They're not usually the starters of calling people out on the table. So, I appreciate that. As well. Again, they just seem to be happy and focused on their relationship. And in fact, the intimacy week, I think they were only one of few couples that actually had sex. It was them, and Jamie and Dave. No one else was doing sex. Everyone else was really trying to be intimate. So, yeah, nothing wrong with that. Again, I'm just saying they probably passed that limit where they can be people into, or it could be something on the side. I don't know, but if I saw it as a positive, that they've already done that intimacy aspect, and so the intimacy week was really them being intimate. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Well, right. Alejandra, I think this was wonderful for them that they allowed the ladies to take the lead in the intimacy, because even at Married at First Sight, these people don't know each other. They just met. And I could appreciate it's difficult for the man, the groom, to know how far can he, be intimate with his new spouse that he just met. So I love that. But even for this couple who knew each other, apparently Paul takes control, and now it's Karina's turn, and now he is open to it and understands that her taking control he can also enjoy. Life is reality. What do you think about this couple?
Yeah, at the moment, they're my favorite couple to succeed in this show. They seem completely into each other. The attraction's strong, communication's good, um, and they don't interject into everybody else's business. And that's because they're focused on each other, which is the way it should be, really, right? If you've got time to focus on other people's relationship, you're not focusing 100% on your own. So I think that also the reason why Intimacy Week, they would be a bit more advanced is because they do have a prior history. So, having dated before and all that stuff, a lot of those, they're a lot further ahead than the other couples. And, the intimacy challenge for them wasn't really a challenge at all. It's like he was rubbing his hands with glee and she was ready to reveal her birthday suit. And, they just got down to business. And it brings them closer. And, they've connected on every level so far from what we've seen. So, yeah, definitely, they're my pick to actually make it to the end.
So even though they've known each other before, there's still lots to learn and grow in the relationship. So we're going to move on to the next couple that knew each other before and dated before, Rye and Jeff. But we learn a lot more this week about Rye and Jeff. We learned that when they got together, I believe it was a year ago, that it was right out of long-term relationships for them. And as Jeff said, it is what it was. It was very physical. It was very hot and heavy. So my thing is, Jeff is doing a lot of the housework. She appreciates it. He's doing all kinds of stuff. I'm wondering if it's busy work to keep himself disconnected from her. I wonder if it's to help keep his distance. Because for me, it's like she is trying to, get there, why they were connected, that they could be a long term thing. And in my mind, this is an edited show. Jeff has like been there, done that. This was just, what it was for the time it was. And I don't really want to be with her for long term. What are your thoughts, Life is Reality, on Ryan Jeff?
I think they had a turnaround from the previous week. I think they actually did show more connection growing between them. Yes, I think there is still work to do in terms of their connection. And if they're just going to they're going to need to take some time to actually get to know each other a bit more and let it flow. Just let it flow. And, it may be better for them to move at a slow pace, but at some point they're going to have to, accelerate because the show's only going to last for so long. So, they've got, again, prior knowledge of each other and having been with each other before. So they should be really at an advanced stage if they are really going to connect. But they're not quite there yet.
So, Kojo, why do you think Jeff is holding back? Because I think Jeff is holding back and Rye is all in.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Jeff is definitely holding back. You know what I mean? Like, that man never speaks with any enthusiasm. Can I be honest with you? He just never speaks with any enthusiasm towards that relationship. And that's from day one. When that brother said about platonic, but you hear her talking about, you see, almost her being excited. This brother was excited about for intimacy, about a nice little dinner. I said, this nigga's crazy. Okay, he does not want her like that. You know what I'm saying? She's like, I may be proven wrong, But something about Rye, he's picked up. And I'm not saying that she's actually bad. Something about Rye that he's picked up that he's not working with. And I think he needs to start being honest about it. Because now, like, it does look like he's avoiding her and has been avoiding her. And then she comes over and be like, I'm just really taking it slow. And I'm looking at her like, girl, you ain't taking nothing slow. He ain't trying to put it out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you were just about able to get him to kiss right now. You know what I'm saying to you? Like, it's strange without no real reason to go going from hot and heavy to this. You know what I'm saying to you? Without him leading. So, like, let me give you an example. Like, let's say me and a girl met beforehand, right? And I'm hot and heavy. Okay. Now my excuse might be, okay, look, I'm giving my life to Jesus. I'm changing my ways. I want to make sure we can get to the altar without doing this kind of thing. That's actually a reason. So we don't do hot and heavy stuff. But as soon as I get to past that altar, I'm about to be hot and heavy again. You know what I'm saying to you? Like, so there's something not quite right. Jeff is not telling us the full story as to what he feels or what happened during those stages, because old girl said the sex was good. So yeah, the sex was good, and y'all are stalling, and you're stalling without actually really giving us a real reason. Or we're just trying to take it slow because we want to make it. We're trying to build that connection. We're scared of last time, and it's like when they speak, they don't even hear it. You don't really hear the conviction that they're really like, we're intentional, we're really building, we're trying to take it slow. You don't hear that intentionality. It almost feels like they're making excuses. I'm not saying they should jump into any physical intimacy straight away. What I'm saying to you is, it doesn't sound genuine in that. And also, when people like people, it's the same thing with I don't want to jump too quickly, but Sierra and Billy, someone's sex is not on point right now, because what's going on? What's really going on? But let me not jump too soon. You know what I'm saying to you? Go and go
Yeah,
after
we'll get there. Yeah, we'll get there to Billy Sierra. But yeah, I think it's kind of like, and I cannot speak for everyone. It's kind of like when you get with someone and you're not even thinking of a long-term relationship. It's just physical, and the physical is good, and it is what it is, and they go home. But now Jeff can't go home, and maybe she clings and is a clinger, and Jeff is like, I just want to go home. Let me not tick her off. Let me just go home.
That's a good point. Can't even lie to you. That's actually a really good point. Yeah, that's the one that you just you had fun with, but you never really wanted. You realize quickly that you wasn't trying to be in a long time relationship with that person. You're good vibes. You can even go on a date or whatever, but you always had an exit strategy and route there. And I think now he's been locked and chained. I think that's what it is. You know what I mean? Now he's like, damn, I've actually been locked and chained, and I actually can't get out. You're absolutely right. It's like that girl that comes around and doesn't want to leave. And it's like,
Right.
where would she go? She ain't going anywhere now. Now he's got to keep lying.
And now you go back to your real life, and the experts have told you this girl is the best wife for you. So I mean, when Jeff leaves this experiment, I really feel sorry for him in some sense, because now he's gonna go. Let's say he says, I don't want to be with you. Now you're gonna see her at the gym. She's around your friends, and it's like, well, I'm the best wife for you. Experts said so. I mean, Jeff is like all the way around, you know, stuck with Rye. Any other thoughts on Jeff and Rye?
Yeah, it sounds like a little bit of buyer's remorse, right? They sampled each other before, and yeah, now they're in a marriage situation. It is taking him a long while to wrap his head around the fact that she was chosen for him for a reason. Of all of the eligible candidates that applied to be on that show, fate had it that it was her. So maybe he needs to do some self-reflection and realize that what he potentially wants isn't actually what's best for him, and he needs to open up and give this more of a chance, and hopefully they'll advance a bit smoother. Because like you said, she seems to be all in. It is him that has more of the reservations. So he needs to definitely take into consideration, those points. Like, the experts chose her. They didn't know that they had a history prior. It was only discovered on the show once they had met. So, yeah, he just needs to get with it, to be honest.
So Jeff, was told by Rye, you got to get us out the friend zone. Here we are again, intimacy week. She planned just a dinner. She was all excited about it. Then the experts said, y'all need to kiss for 5 minutes straight. Um, Jeff, it was like high school kissing. They were crisscross applesauce on the bed, facing each other and leaning over to kiss each other. This is not going to lead to any intimacy. They're not even hugging each other close. Okay? They're not even hugging each other close. I think they should just, don't waste our time and just go home. But Jeff speaks highly about hanging out with the boys. When he got back to the couch, he was like, "Oh yeah," he was more excited to get back to the couch and hang with the fellas. And one fella that is not getting the support from the rest of the group because of he put his foot in his mouth is Ryan. Ryan and Jackie. This week for Intimacy Week, Jackie did something, y'all, that I thought was quite nice. Instead of just bringing home the lingerie, Jackie said, "Why don't you come with me and see me in all the lingerie, and you pick it out, and you can compliment me because I just want you to compliment me." Jackie, I think you need a whole lot of compliments, external compliments, but we know where that comes from. And Ryan goes back to the boys and alludes that they are being intimate in a very crude way. And Jackie tells the girls, "We are not intimate." And as the experts say, it's the back and forth. They're not robots. They can't just reboot and reset whenever they feel like. They're just sweeping it under the rug. So, Koja, what do you think this week about Ryan and Jackie?
Yeah, man. Ryan and Jackie. Whew. I mean, listen, there's warfare between the two of them all the time, but I think they found some solid ground this week. I think they found a common enemy, everybody else, and so that bonded them together in that space. The real question is whether they've learned a lesson, right? I would say, some positives is that, well, for the first time I've heard Ryan actually apologize, like properly apologize, right? Because he was on some bull crap before that, right? His apologies were literally null and void, if anything. So I have to give him credit for the fact that this week he actually apologized, said he was sorry, and said what he's going to do next from now on. Okay, so I'll give him that credit. Obviously for Jackie, and the experts rightly called it out. Some of your behaviors, my good sis, are a little bit off. Okay, the consistent need for that commentative assurance was off. They kind of nailed her with the her being put third in the thing. I actually could understand that. You know what I mean? It's a very painful thing to know that your partner doesn't see you as first. It is almost an appropriate lie that we all tell each other. Like, nobody needs. I always ask myself the question: Do we need to know? Do I need to physically know, like, that you don't think I'm the finest girl or the finest boy in the room? Like, you know what I'm saying? Do I need to know that? But then I also said as well, do I need to feel insecure if you tell me this? You know what I mean? I guess it's a bit of catch-22s, and a little bit here, a little bit there. It depends on what side you want to fall on. But I actually did understand how she felt, because I think it was a bunch of issues that were happening at the same time that culminated before that situation, right? He was trying to humble her, and he was trying to settle her down. You know what I'm saying to you? So in that sense, so I did feel for her a little bit, but they corrected her, and I could understand why they corrected her. I think, obviously, like I said, I think they slightly get in a better place, because I did see them be a bit more unified. I did see him. He showed a bit more emotion. I don't know if he was crying towards the end. I don't know what the crying was necessary for, whether he was maybe play acting or whatever. But he seemed to have a bit emotional on him as well. So he's apologized. I want to see what's going to happen. I want to see what's going to happen the rest of this week. Are we going to see significant changes? Are we going to see him be more verbal? Are we going to see him do that without having to counteract her and fall for her games and then reduce himself to her level? Whatever she's going to do, is he going to be able to stand tall and be the warrior that he said he is? Let's see. And can Jackie also, at the same time, let go of that third place situation, because she's gonna bring it up every week if she has to. But I mean, she didn't bring it with the experts; they brought it up to her this time. But let's see how they grow. You know what I mean? I'm hopeful because of what I saw this week, but I don't know.
So yes, he is a warrior. He is fighting, I guess for this marriage, for what's going on. Is he fighting a losing battle? Life is reality. Is he, kind of fighting himself, or is he fighting his feelings, or is he just fighting society's norms? Ryan is low on the list this week because he got called out at the table for the words that he spoke. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Ryan is fighting a very difficult battle. with himself, first of all, because he needs to stop putting his foot in his mouth. But he also needs to realize his audience. You know, his audience is Jackie for the most part, and she is awkward at best when it comes to communication. Right? She can say some very offbeat things, but from what I've seen, you know, she seems to be very self-centered in a way. She wants everything he sees, thinks about, likes. It has to come from her. Right. And again, she did lead with her acknowledgements and her accreditations and her cryptos and her finances, and that put him off straight away, because that's not what he was looking for. And remember, he was the guy that said, "Listen, I can't believe the experts got it so wrong." He said it to the experts in front of everyone as well. I can't be like, "What were you guys playing at? You took what I wanted and you gave me her." Right. So that way, you know, that must have hit her very hard, but she took it well. And you know, now he's made comments about her features, her eyes, and things like that. Yeah, Ryan is a problem. He needs to stop putting his foot in his mouth. I don't think he's going to stop, to be honest. But you know, for some reason, they've actually gotten closer. And you know, through all of this, they've gotten closer. They do have good spells, but again, there's always, you know, you're always looking at, okay, it's coming now. You're always waiting for something that he's going to say or she's going to say or react to, and it's just going to be offbeat. So I don't see them working. I think they're going to clash quite often. She's going to be offended by something he says. He's going to say something and not really understand that it was a hurtful comment to her. And it's just going to be tit for tat. It's going to be a cycle. I really don't have much hope for this couple succeeding.
And if they stop fighting each other and looking for a battle within each other, they can, if they just stick to the positives. If I was the experts, one of the things I would have them do each day is write, 5 positive things that they've learned about their spouse for that day. And I think once they get into the habit of speaking positively about each other, they will put their battle knives down. Because it's like they're coming after each other. And what gets to me, and I'm hoping it's editing, is the seesaw of emotions from Jackie. That is unsettling to me. And I'm like, she's being put through it and then she's sweeping it under the rug to move on. Someone who is also sweeping their feelings under the rug, Adrian and Athena. Athena is sharing that she cannot see a future with them beyond this because of how Adrian is behaving. Every time she brings up a serious topic, Adrian either shuts her down or moves along, or he shuts down himself. So the experts call out his behavior because he's looking at the roof. I guess he's tired of hearing this. And, every time she brings up a problem, he's shutting down. They say her fear of all of this is what's generating her saying, I don't see a future with him. And he's turning it around on her by saying, since you say you don't see a future with me, that's why I say and shut down and do certain things, because I don't want to hear it. Which I think Adrian is kind of trying to twist her words against her. But they are being physically intimate with each other. And what I find very startling is Athena says they don't have an emotional connection, yet she is still being physical with this man. Kojo, what are your thoughts on Athena and Adrian this week?
Yeah, listen, I mean, we saw it coming, right? Athena is pushing because she finds him so attractive that she's also willing to cut her arm off in order to get a taste of Adrian, and that's the real truth. Because really and truly, he wasn't even accepting this kid situation. We know he ain't accepting it. And he said he is. He ain't accepting it, and her gut instinct told her this. But I think what she's experiencing is that Adrian has an inability to really connect on an emotional level, on a deeper level with her at least, right? And she is pushing for more of that because she has given over the sexual aspect. The problem is that number one, this started off on the wrong foot because this situation, she wasn't sure if he wanted to even have her kid, like to take on her child, which meant she should have stayed on the emotional plane first. rather than opening up the legs. Okay. Now, once you open up the legs, this can distort your own imagery and your own feelings towards the situation, that you can't be objective. Now, he's obviously missed the mark on a few things, the letter situation, and I know she's spoke about that as well. But she's not feeling that emotional connection. What she's really not feeling is that he's actually into her, and that's what she's not feeling. It's not just emotional connection. He's not into you, right? And he's just using you and sleeping with you whilst on the show, right? He tells you what you want at when you need it. You fall for it, and you're wanting to be the Lulu because he's good looking and you fancy him, and you want him to be the one that's going to make it work. But really and truly, we've all known from the very beginning this isn't it. And I think she'll have to learn the lesson the hard way, because right now she's trying to cry for something that he never gave. He never gave it. He never had it with her, at least, right? Because he definitely had it. He just hadn't here with her, and that should tell you that he's capable of doing it. He just don't want to do it with you. You know what I mean? I guess it adds more weight to his comment about saying he didn't want to share certain things that had happened to him that changed him. And he said, you know, that it's not that he doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to do it with anyone, but clearly he's doing it with someone, as well, which is someone else's wife. So yeah.
So that is, we'll get to the next couple. The what we saw at the dinner party was Adrian playing footsie with Sierra under the table, and we will get to that when we talk about Billy and Sierra. But yeah, we didn't really see Adrian like really take Athena in really, and when she went to the aisle and she was like, "Oh my God, he is just so gorgeous," and he started grinning, and I'm sure Adrian uses that grin in the dating world to get out of sticky situations. What are your thoughts, Life is Reality, about Adrian and Athena this week?
Uh, yeah, I think it's clear to me that Athena, um, I think she's definitely into him much more than he's into her. I definitely see your points where it seems like he's just going with the flow to be on the show, and that's his version of giving it a try. But he's not really ready to take on her and her child or anything like that at all. He hasn't displayed anything to make me feel like that. The other interesting thing is, obviously, he says he struggled to open up to her, but has no problem opening up to another wife. And it's reciprocal. That wife said the same thing about him. Now, that it definitely must have been a slap in the face to Athena, who's banking on more than just a relationship. She's actually banking on a potential stepfather for her child as well. So that level of investment that she has, it's definitely going to come back to haunt her as the show goes on, because Adrian isn't feeling her. They might have a good physical / sexual chemistry, but in terms of what their long-term plans are, I think he's made up his mind, and he has verbalized it. He did not see himself being with a lady who has a child. And now this is thrust upon him in this situation. I don't think I don't think his mind's changed from that.
Yeah, I don't think his mind has changed, and that is one of the fundamental things. Not wanting to be with someone who has a child. I understand they're trying to get him to be more accepting and to open his horizons, because at his 30 something age, it will be hard pressed to find someone without a child. But Adrian is not at a point where he wants to change to accommodate, a built in family. But what I will give him is he's honest about it. He's not sure if they did have children that he wouldn't feel, more leaning towards his children with her versus her son. So if he's already having that kind of separation talk, but he's honest about he doesn't know how he'll feel, then I think Athena, this experiment is really not going to show you him being, a dad. If he's dated someone before, yes, I could totally understand, but I don't think so. Now, y'all mentioned Adrian did share. He did share with, and we'll get to our last couple, Billy and Sierra. Adrian shared. It was also Intimacy Week for Secrets. Share what's deepest in your heart. And Adrian shared with Sierra, and Sierra shared with Adrian, but they did not share with their respective spouses. This week, Billy did share with us that Intimacy Week, apart from the honeymoon, this week he and Sierra did get intimate, which is wild to me. How are you making footsies under the table that night with another man, yet you go home and you're sleeping with Billy? That to me is wild. Billy feels like he got closer to her. She does not feel any passion. Tell me what y'all think. Life is reality. What do you think about this couple?
Yeah, that was a very diabolical situation. For me, it felt like she probably went home and was thinking about Adrian while she was doing what she was doing with Billy. She, like, after that night that they had, she was especially distant towards Billy, and he couldn't understand what had happened because, you know, the night before we just been passionate and everything, and the intimacy challenge went well as far as he was concerned. And then it's like, you know, similar to Morena almost. She was just sitting there very cold and distant. And she even went so far as to label it, listen, it was just a drunken fumble for me. It was just something that happened because I just had a little bit more to drink. That's all. It wasn't anything emotional, no romance, no. And he was like, what? We took our time, we were slow, we were passionate, and it meant nothing. And then the bombshell that her and Adrian, you know, have been talking and opening up to each other when Billy's actually struggled to get her to open up. So, you know, that must have been a huge rug pull and stunned him. And you can see visibly he was a bit shaken by what happened. Now, the dangerous thing is that obviously both couples are still in the experiment. So, do we expect Adrian and Sierra to knock off their connection? No, I probably think they're going to continue to speak to each other and everything. And Billy's hopeful that him and Sierra can work, but I think he may be a little bit too optimistic about that. I think they really need to work on, you know, where they're having a breakdown, because usually, this isn't me trying to be rude or sexist or anything, but usually after you've been intimate with the person, it's usually the lady that's a bit more, you know, because she's opened up herself in that regard. So you're expecting the cuddles, the kisses afterwards as a guy, right? And in this case, it seemed to be Billy that was more amorous afterwards. So, yeah, I don't think she's feeling Billy. I think now that she's opened up to Adrian and they've been playing footsie, flirting and everything, I think her sights are set on Adrian. And I think Adrian wants out of that relationship with Athena now that he knows that Sierra and him have a connection as well.
It is wild to me because Adrian is sitting there listening that we played footsie and you went home and was intimate with your husband. I don't know how you would accept after that, but we did hear little pieces, and based on the little, intimacy and how Billy oil rubbed, I understand why Sierra would say it was like a little drunken fumble because it wasn't very, soothing and sensual. But to say that to experts and a room full of people in front of your husband is diabolical. It is diabolical. If you say, I didn't feel the emotional connection, it didn't get us as close as I thought we were going to get, hey, I could understand that. But to call your intimacy with your husband a drunken fumble, I don't think you can come back from that. What are your thoughts, Kojo, on that, on this couple?
Yeah, tight, man. I can't lie to you, it's tight. Yeah, it's a lot of Bushido from Sierra, but we knew it was coming, right? We knew it was coming. We knew it's coming. That she, I just don't think she's. I don't think. I just think that she hasn't dealt with her fears, and her fears are always going to outweigh her being in a healthy relationship right now, because Adrian ain't certainly ain't the one. But I can understand how she ended up going back to her husband, because you know what, she got hot and heavy with the foot touching. She needs to let out some aggression, some pent up work up. And she said, "Listen, my husband's here. I can just legally, I'm gonna get it out as much as I can." You know what I'm saying to you? And that's what happened. Okay, she used and abused that man. All right, he didn't know. He just thought that, raw, she coming on to me, she want me. But really and truly, she just wants to get the heat off her. You know what I'm saying to you? Yeah. And I think she needs to start being honest. Let's be honest. And sometimes, and unfortunately, men, this is something that we have to deal with. Sometimes the way you're approaching sex is dead, and you need to work on it. And I think Billy needs a harsh lesson in reality. Stop this bullshido. I need an emotional connection. I'm not here for that. You know what I'm saying to you? It sounds like an excuse for you not being very confident in the sexual bedroom. And that's okay. There are real things you have to learn. You know what I'm saying to you? That can be something that you guys can explore going forward. But this whole, I need an emotional connection if I can get, listen, people do need emotional connection. There are people who generally need emotional connection. I'm with it. But when they have an emotional connection, they know how to slap on some cream on someone's back. You don't. That is concerning for me. And again, someone's going to say that I'm probably excusing her cheating. So with her foot rubs underneath the table. I'm not excusing it, but I'm just saying that that this behavior that that our good friend Billy's been exhibiting, it is goat like. It's like, bro, like, what have you been doing in your your time as a young man? Like, you know what I'm saying to you? Like, again, listen, I do understand sex is not a simple thing where everybody gets taught like certain things, but then this is where he has to be very vulnerable. You talking about that emotional connection? He has to be vulnerable. Hey, look, I'm a little bit concerned. I don't, I'm a little bit not so confident in the sexual bedroom aspect. You know what I mean? Like, can we work through this? You know what I mean? That, you know what I'm saying to you, to see what she says. And if then she says no or whatever, or she laughs in your face, she ain't the right one, because that's somebody you don't need to be in a relationship who's going to laugh at you when you're trying to be your most vulnerable self. But right now, Billy the Goat is not giving us anything right now. And his wife smashed him so she could stop the heat that she's feeling. That is sad. That's sad, but I'm not saying that he has to take accountability, but I'm saying that she was always going to do that because of the way that she was always afraid of actually getting close. She was always afraid. There was always something, you know what I mean? And the very fear that she had is about to be realized through her own behavior. Let's see what kind of accountability she'll take. Let's see.
Because they're both kind of triggering each other in a sense that, remember, Billy, he tried to have a relationship with his dad, and he even moved all the way from Australia to the UK to try and connect with his dad, and he was rejected. The dad did not take even his phone calls. So Billy wants to connect, and I think that's where it may stem from. She also comes from a broken home, but she has put on armor, to kind of protect herself. And what they're hinting at, I'm thinking that for her, maybe intimacy, there's something around that's, from her past that needs to be dug into. And maybe she doesn't feel safe enough with Billy. But you see, Billy wants the emotional connection. He's open. And I don't think she's ready for that. I'm not sure she's ready to kind of, lay it into his hands because, again, as you said, it's like a billy goat. It is just, slapping on the cream, just getting business done. But he thinks he's emotionally connected. And she's like, psych, you know, I'm just glad she didn't say she was faking the whole time. That's the only thing I'm glad she didn't say. But it was the underlying thing that I heard, that this wasn't it. You think you put on a performance, but that wasn't it. Any other thoughts on this couple?
Yeah. I gotta say, listen, I don't think enough time was spent um talking about this footsie under the table situation. You arrive at the dinner party with your partner, and then you sit opposite the person, and then you start playing footsie under the table with them. That's a form of intimacy. That should not be going on at all. You got your partner right next to you, and you're doing some leg linguini under the table. That's not, the experts should be calling that out. And I'm surprised a bigger deal wasn't made of that, because that is crossing a boundary. You've actually been intimate with someone else's spouse in that moment. And while you're struggling to connect with your spouse, that adds a level of diabolicalness to it even more, right? That shouldn't be allowed to continue. And I'm not sure how they stop it, but that's just not a good sign, because that intimacy that Billy should have shown with rubbing on the back, she's already feeling like she's received more intimacy from that foot rub or whatever under the table from another dude. So her head is turned and she's cold. She's distant towards Billy as a result of it.
I wonder if she thinks that, Billy is too much of a softie because he's, having an emotional side. But I agree with you. But I don't think the experts saw it. Remember, things were already going on. Adrian had just shut Athena down. There was another conversation happening. And all we saw was a camera pan down underneath the table where it's dark. And then we saw Athena kind of turn and give like a kissy face. That could have been directed at anyone. I don't think they brought it to their attention. Or they could have brought it to their attention, and that's where they came up like, have you connected with anyone else? I'm kind of battling on whether
Yeah.
they knew or not.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm weighing on they knew, and in order not to say you are cheating, are you going to admit that you are connected to someone else here?
Yeah, I think that's more likely what happened. I think because you got the camera people that caught it, then they would feed it back to the producers, and the producers would tell the experts. So that's why I think that question was asked. They didn't ask that to anyone else. It was specifically to Sierra, right? So they must have had a hint that that took place. Now, as I say, like with Billy, yeah, he may be battling his own emotional traumas and stuff, and he's very open and vulnerable and expressive. She may not like that in her man. You know, she may want him to be a bit more silent about what he's going through and how he feels, and doesn't see him as manly in that regard. Whereas someone like Adrian, who is a lot more guarded and has that sinister smile that we keep talking about, that mystery, that intrigue, that what if, if they were matched together, would they be a better match? I think that's already crept into their minds, because they already shared open conversations, but now it's escalated to physical touch, discreet physical touch. And if the cameras hadn't recorded it, they would have got away with it too. And they wouldn't
Right.
have announced it at the dinner table. They wouldn't have announced it at confession week. They would have kept it quiet and kept it going to see how far it could have gone.
And I'm thinking that both Adrian and Sierra thought that it wasn't caught on camera because it was under the table and it was dark. But again, that room is filled with cameras. It is filmed with cameras. And the thing is that, you can't hide when the room is camered up as much as it is. So we appreciate whoever the camera person is that caught that and zoomed in. They need a raise. They need to be duly, get a gold star for that one. And I'm hoping this isn't contrived, but I'm thinking since it was under the table so much, that maybe this is something that's happening organically. And remember, everybody, Adrian is a twin. There are two Adrians out there in the public. So whether Sierra is attracted to him, I don't know if she's going to be attracted to his twin too. Let's just say that there is double trouble in Australia because Adrian is a twin. Koja, did you have anything else to say about Billy and Sierra?
Yeah, so I was just watching it back behind the scenes. So I think obviously, yeah, they didn't bring it up, which I was surprised. They didn't bring up the footsie situation because the cameras caught it. So I was surprised that they didn't bring it up. I think that probably would have destroyed Billy. Definitely would have sent him underneath a bridge. But I think obviously with the Sierra situation, right? And I'm definitely gonna do a video on this. She's definitely giving me the FA vibe. I can't even lie to you. And the fact that she has, quote unquote, and I'm going to say quote unquote because it's tough to sometimes believe or not believe, that convenient amnesia, I call it convenient amnesia, that I thought I told you. where she's removing herself from the accountability of actually not telling her partner. And even if you thought you told him and he said he doesn't remember, just say, okay, my bad, sorry. She still continued on like saying, I thought I told you, no, no, no. Meanwhile, she had told someone else, which meant you hadn't told him. And it's just something when not all FAs do this, but it's just again, like I said, an avoidant trait specifically as well, actually, to say the least, is that they do stuff and then they try to almost gaslight you, like they didn't do something right because they're trying to remove themselves from the accountability, and that's what Sierra did. Now she will give up some excuse about I didn't want to look like I was damaged goods, etc., etc. But you are looking like damaged goods because you what you're doing right now, right? So that's the self sabotage that's happening. But the self sabotage too doesn't mean that she actually likes you. Self sabotage too is that it can be simply about her and not necessarily about Billy. The fact that she doesn't feel worthy of someone's love doesn't actually mean that she actually wants your love. It's how she feels about herself, and that's actually the difficult thing to distinguish between the two. Um, and so for me personally, I think she wants a mind reader a little bit as well, because this whole sex situation was part of that mind reading. She wanted someone to know exactly what they were doing, and of course we all do. Like, you don't want to have to be teaching people how to slap some cream on your back, but that girl put it on a plate for him. So the sexual intimacy is, I think for her, she probably just wanted to be desired, she wanted to be wanted, she wanted to feel like she was coveted, right? And he made it into a situation where it was like a little bit nerdy, a little bit like goofy, and it removed all the desire and it moved all the I want you, which is why the footsie thing comes up. Because what Adrian showed, and I'm not saying it's right, but I'm explaining behaviors. What Adrian showed was a level of desire which required no which required no conversation or direction. So she doesn't need to direct his foot. His foot just moved there. And so one thing I've learned about FAs is that they tend to try and do this whole I want people to mind read, because they tend to try and mind read other people. It's easier for them to do that way. But reality is that she needs to communicate. She actually needs to talk. She actually needs to tell Billy the goat, listen, my guy, this is what I really need from you. And stop pretending stuff like I told you, when she's not really actually communicating those things. And what the last thing I'll say is the major kind of thing that I knew that she was FA was when she started saying, I have feelings for Billy, but it's fleeting. It comes and it goes. That's another thing with FAs. They can't trust their own feelings. It comes and it goes. And so they're always afraid that it's going to come, it's going to go. And they're always looking for perfection. So it's like, it has to be perfect. It has to be this fantasy. It has to be this perfect rendition of what I had it in my head, how it's going to be. And when it's not, that's where the fear kicks in. Then I must be doing it wrong. I must be off the kill. But that is healing that she needs, not another foot rub with someone else. And they need to get a hold. And I want the experts to get a hold of her now, quickly, before she does something that she can't come back from. A foot rub with a little foot, we can come back from that. You know what I'm saying to you? Yeah, I'm gonna be a little bit pissed off. I'm probably gonna mention to you for the next 2-3 weeks, hold it down, but I'm gonna let it go. But if you go further, if Sierra ends up sleeping with Adrian, where she's gonna find herself is an even more darker space that she will not be able to look at herself in the mirror. And that will be even deeper and darker for her. So before she goes down that space, I just want the experts to pull her up and be like, Sierra, come on, listen, darling, you were doing foot rubs. You were starting to drift without doing the actual work. Let's get on it. You know what I mean? So yeah.
And they started to drift on the honeymoon because, as they said, they got really hot and heavy really quickly. And I wonder if that was one to pull in for Sierra, to pull Billy in. And then for Billy, maybe he kind of stopped to get the emotional connection with it. So they both want the same things, but they kind of on a different timeline. It seems like they have to get in sync with what they want and how to open up. And I don't know why she would think that Billy will see her as damaged goods when he has shared one of the deepest hurts that he has. And, even when he shared that, I mentioned she didn't even rub his hand, grab his hand, show any kind of physical attention to him. Yet you shared your secret with Adrian and you welcome his footsies under the table. So she's opening up emotionally with Adrian and opening up physically with Billy. She's running. She's running. And I don't know if she'll settle down. Any other thoughts for this couple?
I'll just say it seems like they prioritize the emotional connection and the physical sexual connection in different ways. So for her, it seems to be more of a physical thing. If you knock the boots and you do it right, then she's going to be smitten. If you You know, if you're clumsy with it, fumbling, all that stuff, then that could turn it right off you. Whereas Billy seems to be, you know, I want to build an emotional connection first and then open up and then see, you know, if we can lead to the physical stuff after the emotional connection's been built. So they're not aligned in that way. And yeah, opening herself up to now the scrutiny from all the other couples, now that she's crossed that boundary with Adrian. Yeah, I don't think it bodes well for this couple, man. I really don't see, you know, Billy would have to be a damn fool to trust her with Adrian.
Yeah, I feel Billy is being blindsided, and you know, this week we got an insight in a lot of the couples. We got an insight into what many of them are going through in the challenges in their relationships. I do love today where they have confessions week or commitment ceremonies where they talk to the experts, and I think that's what I would like to see in the US show. If every week the experts meet with the couples and kind of give them feedback, I really do like this. And we could see people change. And change is not automatic overnight. Change happens over a period of time. It'll be great if somebody changes for a week, but then they get another curveball. Next week, y'all, we have more weddings. We have more weddings next week. We have a new couple, and for a little spoiler alert, close your ears. We have a couple that is coming back and they're being paired with two other people. Two other people. So there may be three weddings next week in this entire curveball. And I'm not going to say the name, but these two are going to be married to other people next week. Let's see if the experts get it right for them. Let's see. So we'll definitely have a longer live next week. Okay. Is there anything else, gentlemen, you'd like to say about the show?
No, I'm good.
Kojo?
No, that's it, man. Can't wait to see what happens.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this week. We will be here again next week. If you make sure you hit subscribe and the notification bell, if we change the time, change the date, you will be aware. It will be posted, of course, on my community wall once we have decided. And I hope to see you next week. Again, this show airs from Sunday to Wednesday, every day. And you could check on YouTube and search Married at First Sight Australia, and you can see all the episodes for the week. Kojo does breakdowns right after this on Little Black Book 91. In an hour or so, we'll be breaking down Love is Blind, Minnesota, episodes 1 through 6. It is feisty. It starts off slow, but y'all, once you get episode 4, episode 6, oh, it is feeding you all that you ever wanted. But I hope you will join Little Black Book 91. He has, you know, all the breakdowns of all the reality shows. Is there anything you guys are working on that you would like the audience to know?
Nah, listen, I'm good. No, yeah, just make sure you join us later on. That's it.
Okay, everyone, thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you here next week or see you during the week for any other recaps and reviews that we decide to post. See you, and thank you for joining us.